So today I want to talk about how we create. And change your thinking, change your life. God is all there is. These big ideas that we base our thinking and our teaching on. And it can get a little tricky when you're actually in the midst of it all. And so I want to talk about, for me, two big ways we can create in our world. And one is to move towards something, and one is to move away from something. And I'll give you the spoiler right away. It's better to move towards something than away from something. Why? Because when you're focused on something that you don't want, what are you doing? You're creating it in your experience. What you resist persists. What you focus upon and dwell upon, you create in your experience. And yet there are plenty of times in my life when I've created by running away from something as quickly as I could. The problem was that I took me with that creation. I took the same consciousness that created the first experience with me into the creation of my new experience. The best point of how I did that was with relationships. You know, today's Father's Day. So I took my father and I incarnated him into my first husband. And then I took my first husband, and because I took me with me and did not heal the whole issues previous, took that into my next many year long-term live-in relationship, and then I took that into my second marriage. And finally, I started to get that if I don't want to have the same relationship over and over and over again, just with a new name and a new face, and a new last name, that's a whole weird thing about him, then I need to change the consciousness that's creating what I had to begin with so that I can create something new. And in that process, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was moving towards. And I don't want you to get so caught up in this that you think you have to have it all vision boarded out and you've got to know all the details of how it's going to look, whatever it is. But you need to know that you're moving towards something greater, a happier life, more health, more prosperity, more joy, a greater expression of you, a feeling of support in life. You have to know that you're moving towards something greater, not just getting rid of what no longer serves you. But then if it really no longer served you, it wouldn't be there. So there's that whole dynamic of what is it within me that is keeping hold of this experience that I don't want anymore? What is it within me that has not allowed myself to shift into embracing something new and better for me? And in this creative process, it gets a little tricky. We are such powerful, creative, spiritual beings alive and well on planet Earth that we manifest the creative power of God itself in our thoughts and our words and our ideas and our beliefs and our actions. And so as we are manifesting that and creating that, when we put our energy into something, that creates in our life. And so we're on kind of a new path at our center. And those of you who didn't hear my talk last week, I tell you it's one of the best talks I ever gave in my life. And I would recommend you go to YouTube, cslasheville.org, and listen to it. Because it gets me so crystal clear. And you are a reflection of me, so you get to get clear with me. That we are creating our experience on planet Earth. That no one is in charge of us. No one can tell us yes or no. It's all inside of us. The power of God itself is within us for us to use as we choose, and it serves us and everyone else to choose wisely. And in this choice thing, though, there's this little trickiness to it. Because if we choose out of the consciousness that created what we're choosing to let go of, we're just going to create what we chose to let go of all over again. We'll create the same car again, the same job again, the same person again, all with different names and different looks and all of that, but it'll be the same experience. When someone comes into my office and they start talking about this issue in their life, I often ask them, when have you felt this way before? Oh, I feel this way regularly. It's about 3 years into a relationship, and then I go into this thing. Well, that's about you, not about them. I get to where my finances are going to break open into abundance and prosperity, and then something happens to sabotage it, to pull the rug out from under me so that everything falls apart. Well, that's you and not out there. It's always us. It's always inside of us. And so what is it inside of us that we are willing to let go of to have the life that we want to have? What's going on inside of us that has created the experience we find ourselves in, and how willing are we to let it go? Now that's a big question for me, because it sounds to me like, how much am I willing to let a part of me die? To let a part of me go? To let a part of me no longer be my story or my history or that which I have used to define myself with? How willing am I to really let that go? And that, I believe, is one of the more difficult steps on the spiritual path. I was having a quickie conversation with Kristen this morning, and she brought up this idea of, well, turn away from the condition. And turning away from the condition doesn't mean we just put blinders on. Some people think that. Some people think that this teaching is just all about getting rich. Well, I think that a lot of people need to get rich so that we can move on, but let's not stop there. Let's get rich and then move on to the bigger issues and the bigger things in life. So when we turn away from the condition, we don't just close our eyes. We have something else to focus on. When we turn away from the condition, when we can stand in the middle of the storm and really know peace, when we can face the terminal diagnosis and say all there is health, that's not just turning away from the condition. That's knowing health. That's knowing peace. That's creating the experience that we choose to have even before it's anywhere close in physical form. When we turn away from the condition, we've got to focus on the bigger picture. And so we have to know what that bigger picture is. We have to know that there is an inherent health and wholeness, peace and joy and balance to all of life, and that nothing is being quartered out or held back from us. Nothing is outside of our ability to experience in life. That we were meant to have a blessed, wonderful experience, joy-filled experience on planet Earth. We're not sent here as a test. This is not a universal pop quiz. Where passing it means celestial whoopee, and failing it means eternal damnation. That's crazy stuff. That's not what's going on. What's going on is that we are the expanding expression of spirit in form as us now. And the more that we can open up to that, and the more that we can let go of those limiting beliefs and ideas, those fears and those old things that have had us tied to the experiences in our lives that we no longer want to have, the more that our life gets better and better and better. But it's not always a pretty sight. A lot of people say, oh, can't we just have ease and grace? If you have the consciousness for ease and grace, you can. So you want to treat for ease and grace? Wonderful. If it doesn't demonstrate, suck it up and deal with it. It doesn't mean that you don't have to grow, you don't have to let go, you don't have to process just because it was difficult. Sometimes difficulty for me has been that impetus that has moved me through the creations of my life. And will I sometime get to a point where it's not as difficult as it has been in the past? Yes, but I'm not going to complain about it if it requires something of me. It reminds me of the story of the Emperor Moth. The Emperor Moth is a big moth. And one day, a man found a cocoon of an Emperor Moth. He took it home so that he could watch the moth come out of the cocoon. He sat and watched the moth struggle to force the body through that little hole. Then it seemed to stop making any progress. It appeared as if it had gotten as far as it could, and it could go no further. It seemed to be stuck. Have you ever felt that way? You seem to be stuck. Then the man, being kind, decided to help the moth. Notice the triangle coming in. I'm going to rescue this moth. I'm going to save the day. So he took a pair of scissors and snipped off the remaining bit of the cocoon. The moth then emerged easily, but it had a swollen body and small, shriveled wings. He expected that the wings would enlarge and expand to be able to support the body, which would contract in time. Neither happened. In fact, the little moth spent the rest of its life crawling around with a swollen body and shriveled wings. It never was able to fly. A few days later, it died. What the man in his kindness and haste did not understand was that the restricting cocoon and the struggle required for the moth to get through the tiny opening was the way of forcing fluid from the body of the moth into its wings so that it would be ready for flight. Once it achieved its freedom from the cocoon, freedom and flight would only come after the struggle. By depriving the moth of a struggle, he deprived the Emperor Moth of its health. And I'm not saying that everything is a struggle, but sometimes it is. And sometimes when we look at ourselves and say, who is the me that lived the life that I am ready to live, that I'm ready to leave? And who is the me that can live the life that I am ready to have? Sometimes that's not easy. Sometimes we have to let go of ideas that we have. We have to let go of fears that we've had. We have to let go of things that have happened to us. And we have to let go of how we see the world. Sometimes in order to embrace a greater us yet to be, and the life that goes with that, we have to be willing to let go of the old. And I know I had a lot of history and heat in my story. I can't be a happy Barbara Waterhouse with the story that I had. I had to let it go. And let it go by saying, wow, you're such a powerful spiritual being. You jumped into that craziness and you survived it? Go, Barbara. Instead of, oh, the troubles I've seen. I have to be willing to let go of ideas of lack and limitation, of outside powers, of impotence. I have to be willing to let go of that and embrace truly the idea that there is a presence and a power within us that can triumph over all things and manifest the life of our dreams. That is our God-given right. That is what we are supposed to do. But some of us try to pretend, and I've been there. Some of us try to pretend like the caterpillar not wanting to go through the process to become the butterfly. You know, when a caterpillar goes through the process to become a butterfly, its entire body dissolves. It's technically called goo. Truly. And all of the cells turn into imaginal cells. That's also another technical term, which I guess are kind of like stem cells, and they recreate itself into the butterfly. But if I was a caterpillar looking at that, I might say, I don't think I want to go. But I want the wings. Man, I want the wings. So what I might do under the guise of a new spiritual vocabulary and a new spiritual idea is, instead of doing the real work to let go, I might just take some paper butterfly wings and tape it onto my caterpillar body and tell everybody I was a butterfly. Except it's very obvious to those who know that the caterpillar with paper taped on wings is not a butterfly. But I think sometimes we try to do that. Because what it really requires to change is to let go of the old us that harbored limiting beliefs and to embrace the new us. And I believe that letting go is a process of dying. And as we let it go and know that there is something within us that will carry us through, then before you know it, we're climbing out of a chrysalis and we are the butterfly. Or we're pushing our way out through a cocoon and we are an emperor moth. And we are better off because of that. And so I feel like our center is moving to a new level of consciousness. And anybody who thinks that this is just going to be easy peasy, airy-fairy, it's no big deal, I want to remind you that if you find yourself stuck halfway out of a cocoon, remember that everything is okay. That you don't need some big God scissors to come and snip it away. That there is that within you that knows what to do. There is that within you that will transform into a being of power and joy, of prosperity and health and wholeness. Anybody in this room who has gone through a major healing, you know that it didn't happen outside of you, that it required you to shift the very foundation of how you see yourself to be, of who you see yourself as. It required you to change your ideas about, well, genetics mean this, and the doctor said this, or this is my socioeconomic level, this is as far as I'll ever get. It required you to let go of those and to be able to open up to this greater, grander you. You can't have them both at once. I'd love to tell you that that was possible, but in my 40 years in this teaching, what I have learned is that you must let go of it all. If you don't, you'll recreate it and it will drag you back into the old life that you don't want. You have to let go of it all. If you find yourself flaring, if you find yourself creating circumstances that make you feel like you did in the past in another similar circumstance, there's got to be a willingness to let it go and a willingness to replace that with trust and faith that you can do this, that you have what it takes to recreate not only your world, but the world at large, to have trust and faith that God living in you as you is you knows what to do. And that when the time comes, you may catch your breath in that cocoon, but that you will continue your march onward. And when you do that, everything changes. Because although on the outside it looks like a metaphor about the moth pushing the fluid into its wings, there is that within you that goes where it's supposed to go and does what it's supposed to do until you transform into a being that your friends won't recognize. That your family of origin will say, whoa, what happened to you? You look different, you sound different, you have a different life, you have more money, you have a healthier body, you have a lot of terrific friends, and look at you, you're living the life that you want to live. You're happy, healthy, whole, and complete. What happened to you? And you'll know that when the time came, you didn't tape on paper butterfly wings. When the time came, you trusted that you had the strength to go all the way through the process. That when the time came, you remembered who you were and who you are always meant to be. I tell you, it's something. When an individual or a group of people say they are going to let go of limiting experiences of lack and fear, wow, there's nothing that we can't do. Watch out, world. Here we come. And so it is. Thank you. And we have our welcomers here, Jan and Michael. Who's here for the first time? I know I talked to a bunch of people that were here for the first time. Welcome, welcome. Michael's got a card for you. Jan's got a card for you that says, please doesn't say that, it says welcome home. And if you would like to know more about our center, you can put your name and address on there. If you put your phone number on there, I'll give you a call and say hi. And if you only want email, just put your email address down there and check that, and we will email you this wonderful newsletter that we send out every week so that you know things about firewalks and classes and workshops and all the great things that we do at Center for Spiritual Living Asheville. But I want to welcome you to a place that sees God in your eyes, where miracles are an everyday occurrence, and magic is always in the air. The people who come to this center, their lives get better and better and better and better. It's not always hugs and kisses. Sometimes it is growth by foot in the butt, but I found any way to grow is valuable. So welcome, welcome, welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Asheville. I'm delighted that you're here today. And now I'd like to invite our prosperity acceptors to come forward and take out what you're going to give. And there are many, many ways to give to this center. Those of you watching online, you can go to the Donate Now button and it will take you to the PayPal account. And whatever you give, we are very grateful for. Those of you who are in the room, thank you for the different ways that you give. You give via credit cards on the 1st of the month. You give via the donation station in the other room. You give via PayPal. There's a motto that goes around, don't let the sun go down on a tithe, because we're setting spiritual law in motion over and over and over again. And then there are those who write out a check and give it in the baskets or put cash in it. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for all of the different ways that you give to this center. Thank you for stepping up, creating a base that we can reach out to 10,000 people a month around the world. We've got 2 books in Russian about to be put up on our website. Thank you for giving us the means to keep the doors open and to reach out into the world. I'm truly grateful for your generosity. So I like to hold the money in my hand, bring it close to my heart. And what I know is that God is the source of all supply, that money is God in action, that this flow of spirit in and through our lives is a blessing. And we send it out with the same blessing that it touches our lives with. I know that everything is spirit, everything is energy, everything is vibration. So right here and right now, we open to the abundance and prosperity of all of life, knowing that the blessing that is us blesses this center and blesses the world. And I know that each one of us comes together this day to make this Center for Spiritual Living Asheville all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And we'll repeat our investment affirmation together aloud. I freely and joyously give from the abundance and fullness of our overflowing wealth, knowing my gift goes with love as it touches and blesses the world. And so it is. just 4 centers for spiritual living from our convention in February. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I know that everything in these baskets is blessed. That Spirit moves through each and every one of us as we give, and we are always one. So the gift and the giver is the same. Spirit as us, pouring forth from each of us. I see it as golden light, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us. And as Spirit moves in our lives, things happen. So right here and right now, we are touched, we are blessed, and we are healed. And I know that you cannot keep Spirit locked up in a room no matter what. It's the best room in the world with the best people ever. Out it's got to go. To surround this world, to touch, to bless, to heal, to awaken, to remind us all of who we are, always here, always now, touching every one of us here today, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. Thank you. Do we have kids?